So, yes, you guys are in this room with this old man. And yes, indeed, these four spiders have dropped from the ceiling down around you. And basically, it looks like he's talking to them. And they seem to be asking him if it's time for dinner. And he says yes. And where we left off was where he said, "Oh, they're not my friends." And then I think you guys were getting battle ready. And so in this moment, since we don't have our friend Dane, I'll be playing him, and he is just kind of standing with his staff ready, kind of looking alert, and he's ready to rumble. He did not like these big gigantic spiders sneaking up on him. We'll shift over to I'll spend a couple of weeks. I'm blanking on the character names. Turask. We'll go over to Turask next. What's he up to?
Well, Turask has seen these spiders, and just in a blink has his bow out in his hands, and he's looking at. Man, I wrote these down. Sorry, what are
Korak?
Korak, yes. Korak. He just looks over to Korak with like, not panic, but like, are you seeing this? Is this real?
Yes.
And almost without kind of noticing that you guys even feel a little uncomfortable, he begins to kind of shuffle off to the side a little bit, and he says, "You're just in time for dinner," and he begins walking this way towards where it goes. You cannot see, but you hear him shuffle off in that direction.
And now, where exactly are these spiders?
They stay a little bit longer, just kind of looking at you, staring, and about after a few more moments, they skitter off and they begin to follow behind him.
Okay. That didn't go how I thought it would.
Sorry, for my benefit, can you tell me what these three icons I'm looking at are? Who are these three people still represented on the map?
Okay, yeah, so this is Korak, right here. And this is Turask. That's Rory. And this is our monk friend, Dane, who is not presently here.
Okay, shall we follow?
I mean, when he says dinner, he means us, right? Like, we're dinner.
That's what I thought, but why would they go away? I'm curious.
I'd say, get your sword out. Be ready.
Oh, well, I always have my spear out, so. So I'll actually unlimber one of my throwing spears.
Nice. All right.
And then we will move towards where this old man went. He never did tell us his name, did he?
If you asked, he said he didn't remember it. But I don't. Okay. I'm not sure as anybody asked. But you feel like if you did ask, he probably wouldn't even know anyway.
Right. Okay. I think we did ask, and he said he couldn't remember.
Yeah, I recall that.
Okay, so I will move forward. Okay.
Yep, and as you begin to follow down the way he went, do you have dark vision or do you have the torch?
The torch, I think, was being carried by Dane.
Dane, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, I have as an orc, I have dark vision, so I see as well in the dark as I do in daylight.
Okay, so what you see is the old man continuing down the hallway, and he takes a sharp left, and you hear a door open.
Okay. And the spiders are following him.
They are indeed.
Okay. So, I will.
I'm staying fairly close to Dane. I don't see well in the dark, so.
Okay. I will move forward to the corner where he made the left.
Okay.
I guess I will be checking for, just moving, treading gently, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. Your sense of it is that they all just trampled through this hallway. If there was a trap to be triggered, they probably would have triggered it. So,
Okay.
but yeah, you go down the hallway nice and cautiously, and nothing seems to bother you. As you come around the corner, you can see down into the hallway that he went into. He left the door open,
Okay.
and you can see inside a. What would appear to be you don't see that yet, but you see him standing there and still shuffling into the room.
Okay. And the spiders are following him into that room.
They are, yes.
Okay. So, I sort of called down to the others, come forward.
So I would follow with Dane.
Yeah, as you guys come up and you see what you begin to see what he sees, you come in, and essentially, are you following him into the kitchen or into this room? I mean,
Yeah, I'll go first.
Then I'll go second, and Dane can just hold the torch behind me.
yeah. So Korak, as you enter into this room, it's clear to you that this was at some point some kind of kitchen. And as another thing that catches your eye as soon as you come in is that this room is very dimly lit with a very would appear to be a very not natural fire happening over here in the far wall. But then your attention is immediately drawn to this large skeletal figure sitting at a table with an empty cup in its hands, just kind of staring down at the table and looking at some cards and some booklets and little trinkets on the table. And he would seem to be a fairly foreboding figure. He's very clad in chainmail armor, with a large bastard sword laid up against the table next to him. And the old man begins to shuffle his way back towards the back room. And as you guys enter into the room, he says, "Oh, please sit, find a seat. I'll have something. Would you like some tea?"
I think upon hearing the old man talk, I'm going to look up from the table and kind of jump up and slam my hands down on it real quick. And be, good God, what is this?
So this is the skeleton talking.
Oh.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Awesome.
Who are you fellows, and how did you get in here? We haven't had visitors, and well, I just frankly have no idea, but this is certainly a first.
We came in through the ruins above. And who might you be?
Say that's not quite important yet until I know about the veracity of your story. My job is to protect this old man here, more or less, much to my chagrin at some points. But I know that that entrance was sealed up fairly well. And are you telling me the three of you just dug through with your hands?
No, we were able to walk through. There was a few traps, perhaps, but
Not enough, really. Things may have changed since the last time I went out that way. Well, are you here to eat? That's really the only reason anyone comes in here. These silly things. They still have to eat.
As he says that, a spider like starts to climb up over time, and they're about half his size, and they start to climb up over him and like snip, like kind of put feelers on things on the table and mess up whatever he was doing on the table, and they're clearly an annoyance.
Okay.
I'm gonna swipe at them with my hands. Say, I guess it's fair enough that you can know I'm Sir Remsho.
Serimsho.
Remsho, yes, and I am essentially trapped here, as I guess is my patron. But it is my duty until I stay. Maybe this could be a good thing for us. Maybe we could find some cards, play some pinochle.
I am Korak, the spear bearer, from the arenas of Nala, right?
Yes.
Is that the name? Okay.
And I'm Tarask of nowhere in particular and of no great importance.
Dane will come up, and Dane is a medium to small sized human male with a nice staff, and he will kind of walk close to you, not too close, and kind of look you up and down, and says, "What type of magic is this?"
Well, you'd have to ask the old man over there, but I don't think you'll get much of an answer out of him.
Yeah, this entire time he appears to have not even been either listening or have heard anything you've said anyway.
He's essentially just a doddering old fool at this point, but whatever he did to me, I'm bound. And I couldn't even get my way out by stabbing him in the back. Believe me, it has been attempted.
And what's the deal with these spiders, man?
Yeah, they're just more or less pets. They're more or less pets.
I didn't know spiders made good pets.
Well, when you don't have any dogs or cats in your temple ruins, then I guess you have to make do with spiders.
So do you know how to break this spell upon you, this enchantment?
No, I've been able to find out just about nothing about that this entire time that I've been here. At first, I was keeping marks on the walls to pass the time and to mark the passage of time. And then I gave that up. Now I mostly amuse myself by tracing the grain in the wood on the tables.
As you say that, he comes walking over with a tray, and it has some piping hot. It smells like very aromatic tea, and some little like cakes or some type of little tea cakes or whatever. And he sets it down on the table, and he says, "Oh, we've had some rousing games of homes and housewives. Where are those dice?"
I think one of your spiders ate them, but if not, they're probably flopping around on the table somewhere.
I
How does one
will
play this game?
I will take one of the cups, and I will smell at it deeply, and using my hook of trying new foods, I am going to see if I can identify if it's safe to drink.
Yeah, go ahead and you can roll a perception check for that. So in the errata that's changed now, this perception check will explode.
Yes, that's what I heard. Okay, and unfortunately no explosion. And that was a rather poor roll, so that is 7. So I think it's perfectly fine to drink, and I will do so.
Yeah, you do. In fact, it smells very pleasant. And as you do partake of it, you swallow it down, and it is just as pleasant to drink as it is to smell. You're not exactly sure where he got it or, what it's made of, but one thing is for certain, it's real and it tastes really good.
My compliments. This is excellent.
You should try the cakes. They're very tasty.
And Tarask was kind of holding his waiting, but when he sees Korak drink and not die, essentially, he kind of shrugs and goes, "Oh, let's try this."
I'm not dead yet.
That is good. It is very good. How did you make this in this place?
Make what?
Such good tea.
There's tea? And he just kind of wanders back off over to another table and starts looking for things like, so where did those dice go?
You'll find them, old man. Just keep poking around over there.
One of the spiders climbs up on the table and knocks off the tasty cakes he made, and they crumble onto the floor.
Sir Rimshaw, have you... obviously, you've probably explored this temple, looking for a way to change back or defeat the enchantment?
Well, to some extent, but I used to work here before my unfortunate demise. So I'm fairly familiar with the layout, or at least how it used to be. I'm not sure what stands after the collapse. To be honest, I haven't had that much enthusiasm to go after it. I thought really just killing the guy would be the easiest thing to do. But that doesn't work at all. So
Yeah, and per the parameters of your summon, you've actually been incapable of going basically anywhere between... You're permitted basically to the kitchen and to the lounge room where he sits in his chair and wastes time. You've really not been allowed to go any further away from him than that. You've kind of been tethered to him.
And so I've noticed the pull is greater the farther I walk, and it just becomes very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable deep within my bones. And at this point, Sir Rimshall will take a seat with his back against the wall. He's going to get up and move to his left to that other chair. Move himself back against the wall and sit and observe for a moment. And I will be right back, gentlemen. I apologize.
Okay, Teresk. What do you make of this?
I'd say this guy has no clue, and the old man probably had a clue at some point, but I don't think he has any clues anymore. I figure there's two possibilities here. Either the answers are deeper in the temple, or this guy's can't kill this old man because of whatever their pact is, but that doesn't mean we can't. And I'm more than happy to give it a shot.
How about we explore first and then kill later?
Wise counsel.
Yeah, while you guys are talking, Dane's staff very, very dimly begins to glow. And then I want everybody to make perception checks.
Perception is intuition plus any dice pool in perception.
Yep.
Correct.
And in this particular case, it's going to be for auditory senses.
Okay. I do have an exploding dice.
12.
8, 13, 19, and it explodes to a 5.
Well, it'll only explode if you used a luck die or you're using your hook.
Oh, okay. So then no. So then 19.
Okay. That's enough to hear something as in between this conversation you guys are having, you catch the very faintest voice. And it's one of those like ghost type voices that kind of like kind of sounds backwards and is speaking, and you can't quite tell what it's making out, but you're certain you're hearing something. And of course Dane is listening too, and he hears it as well. And he says, he holds his hand up and he says, "Did you hear that?"
I lean forward. I did.
It's easy to let your minds get carried away down here, guys. Just saying.
Yes, the old man and the skeleton appear to have heard nothing.
Okay. But Dane's staff is glowing slightly,
Ever so slightly, yes.
which the last time that happened was when a spirit was around.
Indeed.
Okay. Shall we go and investigate? Should we see if the old man will follow us so that Sir Rimshall can come with us as well?
I would take any help we could get, even if it is from a bag of bones.
He appears to have a nice sword, so I'm assuming he can use it.
I imagine he was kept here for something.
Okay. So I will approach the old man.
Okay.
And
Yep, he's just over in the corner, just kind of half slumped over the table, and he appears to have forgotten what he's looking for, and he's kind of looking through a book. As he's looking through this book, Dane becomes interested in it and begins to be convinced that this is where he heard the voice from, and he really needs to sit in this room and try to focus all of his energy and all of his time on meditating on what this voice is. He feels that it's related to that encounter he had with that ghostly figure over in Tobias's house. And so he will basically just take the book from the old man, who kind of is like, oh, and then he turns over to you, Korak, as you begin to speak to him, and Dane will sit down cross-legged on top of the table and slump in front of this book and set his staff down in front of him with an eye's sight, and then begin pouring into this book.
Virgil, my good man, you were going to take us on a tour of the temple.
Who's Virgil?
You are Virgil.
Oh? And he looks over at Sir Remshel. Is that so?
Go with it.
I'll just cast a sidelong glance, and if I had eyebrows, you know that they would be pointing downward. But it's been less than interesting around here, so yes, of course, old man. That's exactly what we were going for. You said you had in the back. There's no reason to delay. Let us have that. And I'll stand up and put my arm. I'll walk over to the old man and put my arm around him and say, "You just come this way."
He says, "Oh, we haven't walked the temple in centuries."
How old are you, old man?
Oh, I've been here many years. I don't remember.
How about you give us a tour? Maybe it'll bring back some of those memories.
That's a fine idea.
Now, Tarask, we might have a little issue with light.
Oh, yes, you're right.
That's fair. I'll just walk over to the fireplace and grab one of those embers out of that.
Nice.
Yeah, and as you pick it up, your skeletal hand just kind of, you know how your skin like emanates that red color when you like if you stick a light, like an LED light underneath it, and you can kind of see through your skin, like that kind of happens with your skeletal hand, and it's kind of weird because it kind of makes your whole hand glow. It's clearly not a natural fire. It's basically just glowing rocks in there too. It doesn't even give off any heat, but it does give off a fair amount of light.
Well, then I'm going to pick up one of those rocks and stick it on top of my crowned head. If that picture is accurate, then I'm going to be a walking light source without needing to occupy my hands.
Oh, wonderful. So, yeah, you guys will begin to shuffle on your way out, and you, so, Tim, Sir Remshal, you know very vaguely the layout of this temple. You've thought about it over the years, but it's been so long that you've really committed yourself to remembering the layout of the temple that you're not sure you could do it with your eyes closed anymore. There was a time you could, but anymore, it's almost like treading new ground, but you do know about the layout of the temple at least.
I'll kind of drop a little bit behind the old man and keep my left hand on his right shoulder with my my arm not stiff but kind of pushing him along. So he's in a place where he seems like he's leading us, but obviously I'm just making sure he doesn't wander away.
And as you guys come to the crossroad here, he begins to kind of go left the same way he always goes when he exits this room. He says, I think I'll go sit down.
Whoa. Nope. Headed back the other way.
Yes, Virgil. Yes. We would like to see the temple.
Oh, yes, the temple. He flicks his fingers and a whole bunch of sconces on the walls light up. And for the first time, you're seeing this full hallway fully illuminated.
Okay. Are the spiders following us, or are they just hanging out in the kitchen?
They are
with Dane.
They're kind of hanging out with Dane. But a few of them have followed the old man. They've kind of dispersed. Once the food was gone, they got their fill. They kind of climbed up the walls and on the ceiling and just kind of disappeared into darkness. And once it was apparent that they were no longer a threat, then Dane just kind of stopped. Well, okay. So the skeleton and the old man, you guys will begin to make your way towards what you remember to be the doors to the main sanctuary. And you basically just open them up, and he flicks his fingers and sconces all around the main sanctuary light up. There's a long carpet running down the center. You see a bunch of pews in the center of the room, and within those pews, there are a few skeletal bodies, half slumped over. And down here near this central altar, you see a few objects that are very, very interesting. They appear to be large, like maybe 5 foot high, maybe even 6 or 7 foot high. You can't tell from this distance. Harps that are made in the form of a dragon, and they kind of curl around, and the harp strings, of course, are all broken, but the piece itself is very beautiful, and there are 2 of them surrounding this altar.
Sir Knight, what kind of temple was this?
I kind of stopped and turned around and looked at you. Again, you can just feel the weight of like a critical eye upon you. Well, this is the temple to the Blue Dragon, of course. I would think it was immediately apparent by the altar and the dragons.
I'm sorry, I'm not well versed in dragon religious practices, but I see now. It's clear. And these remains here, are they friends of yours?
Well, they may have been at one point. It's kind of hard to remember. But, my manners aren't really what they used to be, having been this doddering old fogey for such a long time and with just spiders to kick around. So I apologize if I come off as brusque, I'd say.
It's fine. I find it odd that there was a cult for the Blue Dragon. I've not heard of any dragons around these parts.
A cult? How dare you? You watch your tongue, sir. It was one of the largest religions on the entire planet at the time.
Now, do either of us remember a time when there was temples to the Blue Dragons or dragons at all?
You, why don't you make a logic test, and we'll see.
Okay.
And you could use history if you have the skill.
I do not. I got a 4.
Korak fighter.
Yes.
Again, picture books, not word books.
Yes.
I got a 7.
Yeah, you're a hermit. So really anything cultural and religious was not in your foray. However, your tribe, there were certain individuals within your tribe who would lay claim to powers above themselves, and it would appear to have granted them different powers. You were skeptical maybe that it was these powers that they were calling out to that actually granted them magical abilities, or if it was just coincidence. And they would from time to time talk about, like, they would revere like certain lizards and things of that nature, but any speak of dragons or anything further beyond that was not within your realm of caring. Speaking of that doddering old man, he has indeed doddered off, and Sir Remshel, you begin to feel the pull of his tether to you towards the altar, and you see him kind of like muttering to himself over here by one of these harps.
I'll start heading after him. Don't touch it! Don't touch it!
And Cork will move closer as well.
Is he getting closer? Because if his hand reaches out towards that, I'm going to run over and slap it.
Yes, he begins to attempt to caress it and to touch the top of the harp.
No, we must not do that.
He holds his hand up to you and you freeze still. And he says, Sir Remshel, after all these years. And he puts his hand over top of the dragon harp, and he closes his eyes and he mutters a few incantations, and all of the dust and all of the grime that has over the centuries or possibly even thousands of years that has collected on this harp just completely vanishes, and these fine, beautiful strings reappear on the harp as though they were just strung, brand new strings. And he says, "Look at that! That is beautiful. Sir Remshel, I believe we should visit this room more often."
Well, it's not like we have a lot of options, so maybe I'll just remind you next time.
Sir Remshel, I want you to make a logic history check or religion. You would be able to add your religion to this as well. As you enter this room, you begin to remember things about the room and about the sanctuary that you haven't thought about in centuries.
Are we... I'm sorry, but I'm not clear on the religion. Are we going with my luck pool for that?
No. You're going to go with logic and then add your religion skill.
Oh, the skill.
Yeah, which I think is 2d6.
Yes, you are correct. 17.
Yes, you do indeed remember. This sanctuary was a place where visitors could come, where sermons were preached, where teaching happened. Beautiful music once rang from this temple sanctuary, and that kitchen that you are in most of your time is, of course, where people would gather and drink fine teas and discuss the latest sermon, and basically a gathering room for fellows. However, you also remember that this room and that room are not the only two rooms in this temple. While you appear to be surrounded by well-crafted stone walls, you do indeed know of at least one, if not more, secret doors that lead out of this sanctuary.
Well, with this, do I get the feeling that this was a peaceful place overall? Then is that something I'm remembering?
You remember that you were not allowed into certain sections of the temple. And for whatever reason, you were allowed in the main sanctuary, in the kitchen, and in the entrance, and into the library and the spa. Those two rooms were for members only. And and clergy and what have you. However, there was you knew that there was another portion to the temple that you were never granted access to. And what went on in there, there were many rumors of what would go on in there, but couldn't fancy a guess at this point.
Gentlemen, it occurs to me that I used to be a guard in this place, a Templar, actually. Things practiced here. This was a place of knowledge. This was a place of magic, fine strings, and of course, anywhere you find an altar. But I still just don't feel like we should be messing around with that much in here. The old man obviously has incredibly powerful magics at his disposal, but he doesn't remember what he's doing with them most of the time, and it makes me very uncomfortable to see him near those harps for some reason.
So Virgil, is this all of the temple? It seems rather small.
He's just twanging a string. He doesn't respond to the name Virgil. It's a very beautiful sound emanating from the harp as well.
Okay. How about we move away from the harp, please?
What? Oh, okay.
It is a beautiful harp, but we would not want to damage it in any way. So, is this the extent of the temple?
Oh, no.
Hey, old man, why don't you show him that pretty sweet hidden door back there?
Hidden door?
That catches my attention too, Tress. Like, hidden doors? What place are you getting us into?
He begins to kind of stare off into space, into nothingness, as though he's thinking really, really hard. And then his eyes get really, really big, and he looks over at you, Sir Remshel, and he says, "Did we have tea yet? I can't believe. Have the spiders been fed? We must go back."
Just throw my hands up in this horrible look of disgust and turn around and say, you see what I deal with? Would you like to have eternity with this? Stinking spiders anyway. No, old man, no, this is what I was talking about. And then I will walk to the left around the pillar and near the back of the altar. And reach down, kneel down, reach around the side, and just make a little motion with my hand so nobody can really see exactly what I'm doing.
Sir Remshel, I demand to know what you're doing.
Well, I told you, we just want to go through this door. Like, just if you could have done it yourself, I wouldn't even need to bother. I'm sure you could have done it just by thinking about it.
He says, "Door, you're on the wrong side of the altar, silly."
I'll squat and then kind of look around down to where I just stuck my hand, stand up and dust my chainmail off a little bit, and walk back around the front.
As he walks, it becomes painstakingly obvious, like, how much, if he weren't like a magical undead type creature, he's got some fairly heavy chainmail armor on. It weighs at least a good 40 to 50 pounds, and every step he takes is clunk, 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 as if to exacerbate his animosity towards this old man. He kneels down and reaches back behind the altar, and when he does, his hand finds purchase on a switch that does indeed click, and a door to your right slides open.
Well, thank you. You are useful for some things. Gentlemen, follow me.
But you're just a Templar. You're not supposed to know about the... And then he stops and he looks around at the pews. Everything says, "Why is everyone dead?" And then he just begins to mutter to himself and wander kind of this direction into the pews, and kind of like he's just walking really slowly, putting his hand on top of the pews and like looking around and muttering, as though he's trying really, really hard to maintain like as much lucidity as possible.
Well, just bear with us a moment, gentlemen. And I'll wander over there and get another hand on his shoulder and kind of turn him about, redirect him again, get him headed towards where we want to go. And I'll yell to our companions, say, "You guys just go on ahead if you want. We'll just we can follow behind you. I'm sure that nothing dangerous has dropped down in that room in the last century, and just kind of trail off."
Tarask's eyes are like furrowing, and his brow is coming down as he's kind of looking over to Korak as he's saying this. I'm just like, what? You're sure that... No, there's definitely going to be something in there. What are you talking about? That's crazy. Korak, are you ready to get hit by something?
Of course I'm ready to go get hit by something, although I'm going to hit back.
All right, who leads the way down into the hallway?
I can't. Yeah, in this room there's light, but I don't know that there will be, so definitely Korak.
Okay, yep. I will go over.
We're going to shuffle along behind you, except instead of like standing beside the old man and dragging him, I have him kind of in front of me with my arm on his shoulder, using him more as a shield, essentially. Kind of peeking over his shoulders, like around his head and everything to see what's going on.
If I look back and see that, I'm going to nudge Korak and say, who's protecting who with that pair?
Yes, you guys slowly make your way back behind Korak and Tarask. Korak, as you make your way down this hallway, you can see at the end of the hallway are what would appear to be some drawers. And you slowly and cautiously make your way further down the hallway. No traps are sprung, nothing happens. You find yourself in the middle of what would appear to be a bedroom, most likely the bedroom to the main preacher here, or an important clergyman for sure. What's most surprising to you would be the amount of things that have not turned to complete dust on this table before you, on the top wall. You would assume that for the amount of time that this temple has apparently been here, that everything made of any type of organic matter would be dead and dust by now. But there are indeed a few, in the same way that when you burn a stack of papers or a really thick newspaper, the papers in the middle sometimes don't get burnt. You can find some pages buried throughout here that were just buried so well that time could not get to them.
Okay. Well, I will step up to it close and sort of inspect it closely. I'm not going to touch anything. I'll sort of lean forward to look and see if anything is legible or if I can even read anything.
Yeah, so the things that you can see are mostly written in a language that you would recognize the same way we would recognize Latin. It's an ancient language that has long died, and but much to your surprise, there are a few items written in Common. It's an old type of Common that's difficult to speak in, but indeed it is readable. And you find one book. It's a hard-bound leather cover that is in surprisingly decent condition. You don't know about the contents on the inside, but on the outside, the book, it's called A Compilation of Rituals by Emma Price the Great.
As I'm shuffling into the room behind the old man, things are becoming more apparent that it's not immediate danger. I just kind of nudge him out of the way, kind of push him to the side and start going in there and rooting around and stuff myself, kind of the opposite of the gentleman that came before me. I'll go over to the bed. I'll go over to the bed and start just kind of kicking at stuff, looking around, looking under stuff. I'll just make this casual statement that the wards really did a great job on this place.
Yeah, what strikes you is the chest at the end of the bed. And you would think that if there was anything worthwhile finding, it would be inside that chest.
Yeah, I'm not really searching too hard. I'm just kind of, I'm in a little bit of wonderment.
I will call Tresk over.
Yeah, Tarask would be interested.
So,
And so is this a heavy-looking chest?
It's kind of like an armoire, a large type. 2 doors on the front, a large drawer on the bottom, but it's very, I guess the best way to describe it would be Victorian, very ornate. That's the best word, I think.
Would it be, do you think, easy for me to take my short sword and kind of try to put it between two of these armored doors and just kind of pop it open?
You could certainly try.
All right, let me try that. What would you like me to roll for that? Well, actually, maybe I assumed too much. Is it locked, or can I just pull it open?
Well, you don't know until you try.
Yeah, so let me, I see. Let me first just try kind of looking it up and down along with our bony companion, just kind of looking it up and down, but I'm looking for any clues to the fact that this could be harmful to me if I try to open it.
Okay, yep, go ahead and roll an intuition perception check for me.
Intuition, perception. 10, 16.
Okay, you do indeed find through some of the wood that there is likely a trap on the front 2 doors, that if they were to be opened, something would happen.
So I would grin widely and look back at Korak and say, "It's trapped. You don't trap things unless there's good stuff inside." And I would...
Not your first time at the Basilisk Rodeo, I see.
It's funny you mentioned basilisks. We have quite a lot of background in that particular field.
I have a couple teeth. You want to see?
My eyes kind of light up at that. You have basilisk teeth here?
Yes. Yes.
You know basilisks are lizards? You took basilisks' teeth from, I assume, a dead basilisk, and you brought them into the temple of the Blue Dragon.
Let me read.
You're a brave man. Brave man.
I didn't think of it that way.
Korak, aren't your spears made of it?
Not yet.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I have the spearheads and a sapling.
Gotcha. We gotta finish.
Yep.
So can I extrapolate? Like, can I figure out a way to get into this without setting it off, or in like an extreme scenario, I would suggest that everybody move away, and I would essentially try to like pull the door like with something else, like, you know, from a distance, like pull the door open.
I'll just laugh at that and say, I'm just going to stay right here. You go ahead and do me a big favor, please.
Oh, right.
Yeah, basically, you can either trigger it from what you believe is a safe distance, may or may not be, or you can attempt to disarm it, risking setting it off.
And I use logic and probably just logic to disarm it, right?
Actually, to disarm it, it's an agility thievery check, but that could be replaced with if you've got like dungeoneering or well, that's pretty much about it in this particular scenario.
So it would just be agility for me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of agility, and I think I'm fairly confident in my abilities. So I will give it a shot at trying to disarm this thing. Again, I will warn Korak, but our friend doesn't seem to care.
I'm actually going to lean in, very interested in what you're doing.
Okay, so that's a 12.
Okay, so as you begin to fiddle around with the trap on this door, you slip your dagger in just right, and you hear a satisfying sound. And as you do, the door begins to creak open in front of you. At which point the trap gets set off, and if you give me just a second, I need to make an attack against you. 14, 17, 22 against your ranged defense.
Ranged defense. Okay. 11.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna hit. Basically, this acidic dart comes shooting out from the top of it down onto you, and it will deal. Oh, you got pretty lucky. 8, 9, 10, 11 points of poison damage. And so that doesn't get soaked at all. So yeah, it you see this dart come and stick you basically in the neck and hits you for that amount of damage. You could feel the burning on your neck as the poison begins to spread.
Yeah, and some of that's on my hands. Like I reach up and I pull the dart out, and it's on my fingers, and it's burning. And I'm like, son of a... Oh, it better be something good. I'm just kind of brushing at my neck and kind of trying to wipe whatever it is off my hands, although that probably just makes it worse.
Well, this particular... You feel that if you had triggered it, when it was first set, if this trap wasn't centuries of years old, that it would have been much more potent. But thankfully, over time, this doesn't appear to have been nearly as potent as it could have been. So, yes, the door slowly begins to swing open, and what you see inside are some very, very nicely rolled scrolls, very well preserved along the bottom there, and then hanging up on the inside are some ornate looking robes that would appear to be some type of ceremonial garb.
So kind of grasping my neck, I'd kind of shake my head and just be like, this doesn't look rewarding. But I'd reach in and I'd grab the scrolls.
There's 2 scrolls there. They are wrapped up very tightly. They appear to have been, they must have been coated in some type of preservation liquid, and they have a large red ribbon around them that holds them shut tight.
As you're doing your pilfering, I'm going to yell, "Old man, make yourself useful and come tell me what this is."
He meanders in and he says, "This is a bed."
And as he's coming in, I'm just going to walk over towards Korak. I'm going to let them have their interaction, but I'm just going to look back over my shoulder and be like, Ramsha, by the way, you can have those robes if you are feeling modest. And walk over to Korak.
Whose quarters was this, old man? Was this yours back in the day?
I don't remember.
Do you have any idea what was kept in that armoire?
Ooh, they're very pretty robes. He begins to reach in for them. Sir Remshel, make a perception check.
13.
He begins to pull the robes out, and you can see as he begins to kind of look them up and down. The robe is a very, very nice shade of amber blue. So it has a bit of a purplish red gleam to it around the cuff, or around the neck, and around the cuffs, around the wrists. And then the rest of it is this very nice, pleasing to the eye, blue color. And what you notice as he's kind of looking it up and down and sizing it is the glinting of something in the right-hand pocket of the robes.
I'm just going to snatch that robe from the old man as fast as I can. Well, that's safe. I'll hang on to that.
He says, yes, anyways.
I actually would like to put it on over my chain.
Okay, you put it on, and you have this wonderful blue robe on. As soon as you put it on, you feel the weight of the right-hand pocket, and it kind of slams up against your right thigh, as though something fairly fairly heavy is in there.
Does it make a noise when it hits my chain?
Yeah, your chainmail rattles a little bit.
I am just going to pretend that it's not there for now.
Korak and Tarask make perception checks for me. Anything related to listening.
14.
10.
Okay, Korak, something catches your eye about, or your ear rather, about when Sir Remshel puts the robe on. You're not 100% sure if it was just the rustling of when he was putting the robes on, or if something else. But something caught your ear that sounded a little out of the ordinary.
Okay. I will look back. I was still looking at the book. Do I see anything out of the ordinary about the robes?
It's not too hard to see that there appears to be something, unless Sir Remshel has done anything about it, which he hasn't yet. There's something poking out of the right hand side of the robe, the right hand pocket. It's hard to tell what, though. It's mostly concealed within the pocket.
All right. Carefully, you don't lose that. And then I turn around and start. I actually pick up the one book that I had found there.
Yeah, it appears to be in decent shape.
I will open it up and see if there is some sort of spell that would turn a victim into a skeletal warrior. If I can.
The vast majority of it is in that ancient language that you cannot read. There are some parts of it that are written in common, mostly like the index is written in common, and a few of the written by, illustrated by, stuff like that's written in common, but all of the juicy bits are written in that ancient language.
So I show it to Tarask. Can you read this?
I would kind of look at it and look at you and say that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't have any specific skill for language, Nathan, so I don't know what the norm is there.
Yeah, no, you would know if you did. I would have given it to you. Yep, nope, you know common.
Okay.
I'll just speak up and say that's essentially straight from the dragon, gentlemen, and without some good training, you're not going to be able to make heads or tails of that.
So would you be able to?
I just kind of pause and look up for a moment. And I just get this feeling like at one point I might have, but I also get the feeling that I should never have had access to these things. Maybe the old man could if we could get him to focus long enough. But
Yes, Sir Remshel, you remember as you think back, you get flashes of your teen years, and you remember that growing up in this temple as an acolyte, you first grew up as kind of an altar boy, and then but then you spent some really formative years for you, especially as a scribe or a lore master, and you would transcribe sermons as they were happening and catalog them for future reading and study. And basically, they brought kids up in this temple to first indoctrinate, and then they would stick you with the books and a lot of writing and learning and stuff of that. And then as soon as you were old enough, they'd make you do your duty as a guard of the temple. And there may very well have been a day that you could possibly even write that language and read most of it, but those days are long since gone.
well, I'll at least take a stab at it. I'll kind of punch my way over there and elbow them out of the way, no manners, just move aside.
Yeah, go ahead and make a logic religion check for me.
19.
Very nice. Yes, as you open the book, you see the words, they come back to you as though you'd remember it a lot more than you would really initially thought you would. And as you pore over it more and more, you begin to remember more and more. And yeah, as you begin to pour over it, you see notes and transcriptions from another fellow scribe, and but things that you see a few things that concern you a little bit. Your experience with the temple has been one of kindness and love and joy and acceptance and so on and so forth. But some of the rituals that you begin to read about in here, and some of the drawings that you see, are indicative of an obsession with blood, and in particular, the extraction and transferal of blood. And this deeply disturbs you. And I'm not going to say what you do, but your impulse, Sir Remshel's impulse, is to close the book very quickly and not look at it again.
I'll say this shouldn't be here. This is not something from the Blue Dragon, and I just don't understand why it's here. Some of these things are totally against our teachings. It makes me very uncomfortable. And I'll close it at that. Not hastily. Actually, it's somewhat haltingly. Because I am curious. But it's still very uncomfortable. I'll yell at the old man again, actually. After I've closed it. Say, doddering fool, come back this way.
Yeah, he'll shuffle his way towards you.
I'll ask him, what do you make of this? And don't say it's a book.
As you say that, he's like, it's a... Oh. And he'll pick it up, and the weight of it seems to... He kind of struggles with it, and he sets it down on the table really hard, and in a way that a lot of the papers that were there that Korak was intentionally not touching in order to destroy anything, they go... And like a whole bunch of paper dust goes everywhere, and he opens it up very slowly, and he says, I just realized something. I can't read. And he closes the book. He says, and he looks at Sir Remshel, and he's like, fancy that.
I'll just sigh and say, yes. Fancy that. Well, and at this point, I'm going to turn and look as sternly as somebody with no eyes can look at these two new companions that have found their way into my den and say, what is your purpose here, gentlemen?
Exploration.
Do you seek wealth?
For now, I seek something a little more than that, but wealth.
I seek fame and glory.
Well, if it's wealth you're after, I will just give you this robe, and I'm sure that'll fetch you a pretty price. I don't think you're going to find any glory from this book. But I think maybe it's a good time to stop unless you're really looking for something that maybe you've never seen. Something that maybe you can't handle.
Korak and Tarask, make perception checks for me. Anything related to auditory?
6.
12.
Okay. You needed at least a 10 or an 11, But yes, Tarask, you hear the same voice you heard before, except this time it's much, much louder. And you can hear it muttering a name, and it appears to be coming from the hallway to the right of that table. It sounds to you like it's an ethereal voice for sure, but it appears to have... It's not like coming from your mind. It's not that kind of... It's coming from a place, a spatial place, and it appears to be coming from that direction.
I think at this point, Tarask is recognizing this as what it is. I mean, he's heard it now several times. And his first thought is just, where's that damn monk when you need him? But without Dane here, you just kind of look at Korak and look at his scrolls and tuck his scrolls into his bag and say, I hear that voice again.
What voice?
I'll just reiterate. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'll reiterate, if it's wealth you're after, gentlemen, now is a good time to be satisfied with what was in the sanctuary.
And now Tarask is going to kind of smirk and look at Korak and just say, well, Korak, is wealth all we're looking for?
Of course not. The world will know my name.
Do either of you know anything about magic?
It can clean harps and turn on lights.
Can set your coat on fire, depending on what it is that's in your right pocket.
Wait.
What is in your right pocket?
That's not important.
What about helping you?
Well, I have a totally different idea about that as it happens. And I think it may require us coming to a certain agreement. Because obviously I'm just bound to that guy who's over there drooling in the corner. And since I'm not able to help myself, relieving me of his presence, maybe we could exchange services of sorts. I need someone to end another's life. You need someone who can protect you walking through this place, at least to an extent that you obviously cannot protect yourself. You kill the old man, and as long as I'm still around after that happens, I will lend you my knowledge of the Blue Dragon and any things that we find in this temple.
Now, Tarask is going to slide his short sword out about halfway and look over towards Korak and just kind of say, well, conscience, should I do it?
However, if it fails, then what happens to you?
I have no idea, but at this point, a change is better than nothing.
Well, I could turn and look down the hallway, see what's down there.
Yeah, you would need to walk about 10 feet down the hallway in order to see the hallway takes a 90-degree turn to the right.
Right. Okay. I was basically turning away if Tarask wants to continue with his.
Got it. Okay, I see what you're saying.
I see the hesitation in both of them, and I speak up and say, I thought it would be easier than that, but all right, gentlemen. I'm just as curious as you are in some ways. Keep my offer in mind, because you may need my help.
Well,
but let us continue if that's what you desire.
Tarask just he still has those scrolls, and he says, how about we sweeten the pot? You can clearly read. Tell me what's on these scrolls, and I'll off your old man for you.
Done. Hold out the hand.
And then he hands him the scrolls.
Okay, yeah, as Sir Remshel, you begin to kind of fumble with this scroll with your skeletal hands. You cannot seem to get the red ribbon undone. You try to put your finger up underneath it. You try to slide it off. It becomes quickly apparent to you that this scroll, and likely the other ones, are magically sealed and would require some type of word of power to unseal them.
After I kind of fumble around with it, poke at it with my bony little fingers, kind of grunt, make some happy sounds. As much as I would like to help, I don't even think I'll have the opportunity to read this. Old man! I yell it again, just real loud. Not even looking up, just, old man! Tell me what this is. Open this for me.
He walks over and he says,
And don't say it's a scroll.
you caught me again. That's exactly what he was going to say. It's a scroll. Oh, it's a fine piece of parchment.
Open it.
Rolled up and bound.
Open it. Move this ribbon.
He tries, like, it's almost one of the most pathetic things you've ever seen. He tries to, like, get the thing open, and he just can't. He can't get it open. He's like, this damn thing won't open.
Tarask is going to be... Oh, man. Decisions. Tarask is going to be kind of sliding in behind the old man as he's looking at these scrolls. And he's going to kind of slowly pull his short sword out. And he's going to, like, reverse grip it and try to just...
As he's bringing the sword down behind the old man, the skeletal warrior moves with a quickness that you have never seen. And he is suddenly there, and his sword is out, and he is blocking your blow. And at the same time, he is going, no! And he stops you from striking the old man.
And Tarask is going to just look at him and say, Remshaw, this is a lot harder to do with your sword in the way.
I was compelled.
As soon as he says, I was compelled, and you still have your sword up, and he's got his sword kind of blocking your blow and everything, you and Korak, your heads are filled with this, what you feels like this psychic energy, and you hear that voice again, except this time it does emanate from your mind, and it says, no, 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 no! And it blows you back 5 feet and makes you land prone onto the floor. That same voice that you heard before.
My sword drops and my shoulders slump, and I look like an incredibly old, ancient skeleton all of a sudden.
And then
shake my head.
Tarask, your voice fills, or rather, your head fills with the voice again, and it says, again in that kind of like reversed ghost type voice, it says, don't kill him.
And Tarask hears this voice, and he's just, am I prone right now? Can I fall to my...
Oh yeah, you're prone on the ground right now.
So I'm just going to basically be groaning, try to roll, and just be like, I'm always make the wrong decision. Damn. Just kind of on all fours, and he hears the voice in his head. And as the voice subsides, he's like still responding to it. You know, like it gets in there and says things really quick before he can even respond. But I'm screaming. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, got it.
And the old man during all of this, he's just kind of like, when the skeleton screams, he's like, huh! And then, but before he can even turn around to see that you're holding a sword above his head, you're on the ground. And he looks over at Sir Remshel and he's like, Sir Remshel, how dare you assault our guests? I expected better behavior from you.
Yeah, sure, Sir Remshel.
Korak is back on his feet, using his quick stand. I think we need to find out where the voice is coming from. I don't like it being in my head. So, shall we continue on?
Yes, as quickly as we can forget that mistake that I almost just made.
At least you can still make your own decisions.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's bring Virgil, and I will head down that corridor to the right there. And you said that it went down about 10 feet and then hung a left?
Yes. No, it turns to your right.
Okay. So I will approach the corner. And
Yeah, as you look down the next hallway, you can see all the way down it, and at the end of it would appear to be another wall. But this is a little bit different because the area that you're in right now feels very much like an underground corridor with walls that have been fortified with like mortar and stuff like that, and clay, and so that the walls won't collapse and so on and so forth. It's actually very, very sturdy, but it's very, very earthy, with a very nice kind of marble floor underneath you. And then as you look down at the end of the hallway, the wall that's at the end of the hallway is of the same make, the same type of stone lay wall that characterized the entrance of the temple and the sitting room and the kitchen and so on and so forth. The sanctuary had a different type of wall altogether, much more ornate, much nicer stone there. And so, yeah, you just kind of see an odd looking wall there. It looks very out of place at the end of the hallway.
okay. So, Sir Rimshaw, do you remember this? Or you have not been in this area, have you?
To the best of my memories, I haven't. But this little geezer that I'm towing along behind me, I'm kind of pushing him along a little more roughly now. I'm obviously very upset over the failure of my most recent plan to free myself from this guy. So he's just kind of, it's getting more and more angry and just kind of dragging the old man along. But it's worth a shot. Hey, old man, what's the deal with this little earthen wall here? Why is this so much different?
He'll shuffle around the corner and peek down. He says, I can't see down that hallway.
And walk down the hallway.
I will go forward, and I'm going to tap my spear in front of me on the floor to make sure that, if there's any difference in sound, that I don't step on anything that's basically testing for traps.
Yeah, just make intuition perception check as you're making your way down the hallway.
Okay, yeah, so I'm not hearing anything. I rolled an 8.
Yeah, you do your absolute best. Korak does best at making his way down the hallway without triggering any traps. And much to your surprise, no traps are triggered.
Okay. So we get to the end wall. And so it is different. Do I see anything that might obviously indicate a hidden door?
Actually, yes, you do. Even with an 8 perception check, because it doesn't take much. It would appear that this was, at least on this side of the wall, the trigger to open this door was not hidden in any way, shape, or form. Whoever was going to be accessing this switch clearly didn't think anybody else who, didn't need to have access to it was going to have access to it. So,
okay. I flipped the trigger.
Okay, the wall in front of you kind of, and then it stops halfway, so it's about 5 feet open. Or not 5 feet open, about 3 feet open. And a whole bunch of dust and stone debris and everything is kind of coming down. It's clearly been a very long time since this door's been opened. But it did open about halfway.
Okay, I peer around it. What do I see?
When you look through into the other room, you can make out what would appear to be some archaic markings on the floor. And you can see over on the right-hand side, or it would be Korak's left-hand side, a beautiful ornate chair surrounded in its entirety by a large desk filled with random paraphernalia that at the distance you're at and peering through the door, you're unable to discern exactly what's on the desk. You also see 3 medium-sized humanoid figures that are dressed in the same garb that your friend Sir Remshal is dressed in, and except their armor and sword appear to be far more. They have much more markings on them. They seem to be to Korak, they just seem magical. They seem, not normal. The stuff that these statues have are not normal, and that they just appear to be standing suits of armor that are situated around this circle, whatever this circle is.
I kind of just snuck up behind him and I was peering over his shoulder, and upon seeing one of the suits of armor, I just kind of brushed past him and rushed into the room to the very first one. And run up and put my hands right on the suit of armor and say, "Brother Talwit." And kind of try and shake him a little bit, like trying to see if he moves. "Brother."
Yeah, as soon as you put your hand on the shoulder, the armor crashes to the floor in a bunch of pieces.
And I just step back shocked at that point. My little skeleton jaw drops open.
You better pick that up.
I will step into the room as well now.
And I'll follow.
So bring
as Korak and Tarask, as you guys step into the room, you feel a presence in here. You guys feel that this could be the room that voice was coming from. There's just something powerful about this room. And as you're kind of taking it in, and as the light from the top of Sir Remshal's helmet illuminates, this semicircular area here, Tarask, you're looking at the crashed suit of armor, and you look at the outskirts of what would appear to be. In fact, why don't you make a logic? You have anything you could add to your logic test to see if you could recognize what that circle is?
I don't think so. Survival, nature, perception.
No.
So just a logic check, you said, right?
Yeah. And Korak, you can do the same.
So that's 7, 6, and 1.
Korak thinks it's a pretty drawing on the floor.
And
3.
Oh wow. Sir Remshal, make a logic religion check for me and see if you can recall ever having read or seen any pictures about this kind of thing.
17.
Okay. As the armor crashes to the floor and you step back, jaw agape in shock at what you would, you had your hopes so high that this was another fellow brother finally at last, and the armor crashes to the floor. Your eyes raise up and you see this arcane circle in the middle of the floor and the runes, and it doesn't take you long to realize that you've seen this before. You've indeed read it in a book, and your memory flashes back to you, and you're brought back to a time as a boy when you're sitting in the library and you're reading a book, and an elder comes in and sits down next to you and says, what are we reading today, Remshal? And you show him, and he beat you and took the book away from you. And that forever ingrained in your mind what it was you were looking at. And what you were looking at was a summoning circle. And but it wasn't just a summoning circle. As you had read about it, you had learned that ancient folk, maybe even some of the first to be on Astera, would use circles like these to communicate with their higher power. The books that you read never made mention of any particular names of that higher power, but it wasn't the Blue Dragon, whose name you're incapable of recalling at the moment. But that book and the contents of it were seen as blasphemy from that point on, and was ceremoniously burned. and you're having this flashback of this all happening, and some of the things that you read from it kind of creep back up in your mind, and you just start to think of what was it? What did that talk about? What was it? And you can remember reading the very beginnings of a story of somebody basically placing a dead loved one in the center of the circle and beckoning out to a higher power, and then a priest making a sacrifice, and that would be enough to allow that person's soul to transfer from the spirit realm to the living and re-inhabit the body. But you didn't get much further past that. And ever since that moment, you always viewed that memory of what you had read as something that you needed to erase from your mind, that it was just pure blasphemy, that this has no place in this holy temple. Why was I reading this? And here it is in your temple, not 100 feet from your sanctuary.
I'll just continue to be aghast, essentially, and just kind of whisper loud enough my fellows can hear. Just say, why is this here? This shouldn't be here.
Is this not how you worship blue dragons?
This is about as far from blue dragon worship as you could be, and yet it's right next to where all of it happened. Was this, and then something just quickly flashes through my mind again, and a word comes into my mind, a name. It's Dalmira. And I say, was this for Dalmira? And I turn to the old man and say that. And I say it again more forcefully, and I grab him by his shoulder and say, was this for Dalmira?
He appears unresponsive at that. He's come into the room and he's looking at the same thing you guys are looking at, and you're asking him this question forcefully, and he gets flustered and he says, I don't know, I don't remember. Tarask and Korak, before your very eyes, at the very nice ornate chair in the other part of the room, a glow begins to emanate from it, and you see the ethereal visage of a woman, a nice looking woman, dressed in peasant's clothes, and she appears to hover just over the top of the seat, or not the top of the seat, but she's not sitting in it. She would appear to be standing in the chair, but she's just ever so slightly hovering over top of it. And she floats very slowly over to the old man, and he appears completely oblivious to her presence, and she caresses his hand, his face with her hand, and the visage dissipates.
Okay, does it have any effect on him when it touches him?
It doesn't appear to.
Do we recognize the female apparition as the one from the Basilisk House?
No, this appears distinctly different. The one that you saw at Tobias's house was elven. This one is human.
Never used to be haunted before. Now I can't turn around without seeing a ghost.
I think there are a great many ghosts in this place, and I think they're only here because of the things that happened in this room. I don't remember enough to make sense of it, but my bones are fairly buzzing.
I am going to approach the table.
Okay. Go ahead.
What do I see on it?
You see a lot of literature, things in that language that you can't read.
Okay.
Like in the picture, you see a glove that looks ceremonial in nature. Most of the things on this table seem ceremonial in nature. Incense, a large bottle filled with what you would assume to be some kind of perfume or something like that. As you're looking at this stuff, and as you maybe reach over to kind of check something a little bit closer, you feel a force as though you're hedged out of that area.
Okay.
A moment goes by where you guys are kind of wondering what the heck you just saw, and then those torches in the center of the room go, and they all light up, and the room is aglow now, and everybody can see with no issue. And then standing in the center of the circle is that same woman. And this time, Sir Remshal, you can see her, but the old man still doesn't appear to be able to see her. He just is kind of picking up this armor that's on the floor and looking at it and like muttering to himself something about, well, I think I've seen this before. And this woman is standing here before you, and she looks to you, Turask, and she says, you are here to help me. She says, and she gestures to Sir Remshal. She says, he has brought you here to free him. And she points to the old man. She says, you must help us.
That's not exactly the order of events, how they were explained to me, but we're here. So what would you have us do?
She gestures to the old man and she says, Mekris is my husband. And when the temple collapsed and our people died, he remained. And my soul could not travel from here to the next realm until it was reunited with my husband.
Well, let me stop you there, because I tried, and it didn't go so well.
She says, killing him anywhere outside of this room would damn us both. She says, you must bring him here in the center of this circle and use the sacrificial dagger upon him, at which point his soul will peacefully transition from this realm to the next.
I'll step forward and say, Dalmira, it's not possible. I'm here only for his protection. And we have tried such a thing. And I was compelled to save his life even against my will.
She says to you, Sir Remshal, she says, and she gets this kind of appreciative smirk on her face, and she says, Sir Remshal, you have been a loyal servant for all these centuries. For that I am forever grateful. You must have Mekris utter the ancient incantation that will break you from his control. If you can get him to say the words, I shall tell you what those words are.
I don't know, my lady. He remembers nothing of his former life. He remembers nothing of his deeds 12 minutes ago.
I whisper into the old man's ear. I said, Mekris, we need your help. Does it have an effect?
He said, yes, he gets up from looking at his things. He says, yes. Oh, the torches are lit. How did you do that? Did you use the rock on Sir Remshal's head?
Not exactly.
We used the magic words.
Do you remember them?
He looks at you, Turask, very appreciatively, and he says, oh, you know magic?
I don't know much, but my friend over here, the bony fella, he knows lots of magic words.
Sir Remshal? He kind of says it in a way that's very condescending. The only thing Sir Remshel knows how to do is to play a bitch in homes and housewives.
You'd be surprised. But listen, off the record.
He's a bastard housemaster.
But does he use the variant rules? That's the question.
I've been waiting for those rules for 100 years.
I know. Piezo is a pain in the butt. But Remshel, did you get those words?
No idea what the lady speaks of. Maybe I knew them at one point, but without direction.
She says,
Someone tells me and I tell him, he doesn't even listen to me half the time. I ask him a question and he gives me the most simplistic of answers you can possibly imagine.
She says, it's 3 simple words. Try your best to convince him to say them, and as soon as he utters these words, you will be free. And she begins to recite the 3 words, and they are gratia sit cures.
Do I know how to write these words?
You could just
Memory for the ability to try and write these words down.
yeah, you would have no problem re-uttering them to him.
Can I approach the table? Is there free parchment and a quill? Is there anything I can make markings with? Charcoal? Anything?
Yeah, you're able to find an inkwell. It's long since dried up, but you find a very nice quill that is still surprisingly in decent shape. And Korak, you notice as he reaches over, his hand passes through the hedge without any problems.
Okay. He's an initiate of the temple. I don't know if Korak would know that, but
I will say, old man, we might have a solution to please both of us, finally. And I will take the quill. And you said the ink's totally dried up?
Yeah, the ink's dried up, but you would be able to, press hard into something.
No, we have to do is warm it up. I'll hold it over. Oh, no, it doesn't give up from me. So, well, here's what I want to do.
You could pick up the breastplate that's on the floor of that armor there and use the quill on that, and that would leave enough marking to where you could inscribe that on the armor.
All right, fair enough. I'll take the quill. Not for all that, I'll just take my sword. And I will inscribe the 3 words into the breastplate. I will put the breastplate back down, take the old man by the shoulders, and say, please just cooperate. I will move him into the center.
The woman in the center of the room, she chuckles, and she says, please be patient with him.
I have been patient for untold years at this point, my lady, and I am in here against my will at this point.
She says, and you shall be rewarded for your service.
So as I finish moving him to the center, I return and pick up the breastplate and hold it up to my chest.
She would, okay, I didn't realize you were moving him to the center. She would stop. She would say, no. He does not need to be moved to the center of the circle for this. All he need to is utter those words. The circle is for something different. However, your friends cannot help us complete this task because you are honor bound to protect him.
Fine. That is fine. Gentlemen, if you could back up towards the wall a bit, please. And I pick up the breastplate and hold it up in front of my chest with the words facing the old man. I say, please, just read this out loud.
He says, but I can't read.
Repeat after me. And then I repeat the 3 words that you said.
Yeah. And then he'll say the words. He'll say gratia, seat. Now, why am I saying these words?
Stop. Just stop. Do it.
The figure in the center of the room puts her hand to her mouth and chuckles a little bit. He'll say, why am I saying these words?
That's for your own good, old man. Do you remember Dalmira?
He acts like he didn't hear you, and he says, I'll make you a deal. If I utter these words, do you promise to give me a level up in Homes and Housewives?
An entire level? Big ears got up again. God, if only there was some way to just. Fine. Yes, just.
Okay, and then he utters the words gratis sit curas. And when he does, nothing appears to happen in the room. You don't feel anything different.
I punched the old man.
You, Sir Remshel, do not feel honor bound to stop him from doing that. However, as soon as you lay your hand, Tarask, on the old man, the woman in the center of the room lifts her hand out, and you get blown back against the wall, and you take...
Jesus, it was a test.
12 points of blunt damage.
Ugh.
Are you down?
I'm not. No, I'm at about a third health.
Okay.
That is affected by soak, though. That one is.
Oh, okay. So it's 8. Well, still, but yeah. Okay, 8 damage.
And she says to you angrily, she says, do not lay your hands upon my husband. Not like that.
This is ridiculous. You want me to kill him in a circle, but if I test your magic, you blow me across the room, and you want me to do you a favor.
She says, the ceremony is different than punching somebody in the gut. That
Then
was
maybe you should conduct the ceremony by yourself.
Why didn't it work, Dalmira?
Oh, it did work. You did not feel honor bound to stop him from punching him in the gut.
And guess how we figured that out?
Beat him.
Okay.
I don't even know what to do myself at this point. I just kind of stop and think about the fact that I'm no longer bound to this man.
So there should be a ceremonial dagger on the table, correct?
As you look over the table, you see no such dagger. And Sir Remshel, as you are kind of looking up and around and contemplating like what this could possibly mean for you, she says that now you need to bring him to the center of the circle, and when you do, you'll use the ceremonial dagger that... who's wearing the robe right now?
I am.
Sir Remshel. That you, Sir Remshel, have in the right pocket of your robe. However, when we begin the ceremony, these suits of armor around you will come to life, and they will attempt to protect Mercus from the blade.
Brother Talbot has obviously long passed. He's collapsed on the floor armor.
Yes, this will not work. I will not sit here for this.
She says, it's been hundreds, if not 1,000 years since I have been united with my husband. This one favor I ask you to do will set things right in this temple. I feel that you came down here for a purpose.
Yeah, that purpose wasn't to die from getting blown across the room by a crazy ghost.
I would think we could ask a favor of you in return, Dalmira.
She gestures.
What can you make of these scrolls? What can you make of these scrolls? My friend carries?
She'll lift her hand and the scrolls will levitate out and the cusp will come off and the scrolls will open and they'll hover up in front of her face and she says, as though to just read through the scrolls as though they were nothing. She's like, this is a scroll of evocation. This is a scroll of divination. She says nothing more, nothing less. And she...
The book that obviously did not belong here. Do you know what that was as well?
As you're asking that, she rolls those scrolls back up and seals them back up again and floats them back in front of you. The book, she says, yes, it is a book of rituals. We will need this in order to perform what we are about to do.
Those books do not belong in this temple. You're saying the magic that has preserved all of this, preserved you, and perhaps cursed your husband, was brought in here unjustly?
She gives you kind of a smile of like a parent would give a child as though they're talking about something they don't understand. And she says, Sir Remshel, there's so much you still do not know, so much you do not understand. This book very much does belong in this temple.
I'm just going to be honest. On a meta level, I really don't think Tarask would be looking to get into a fight at this point. He literally is at a third health. And if this is a sort of favor with no reward, he's really not looking to do that and get himself killed for no reason.
That's fair.
Delmira, can you heal?
She gestures her hand over to Tarask, and she will send a glorious warm wave of restorative magic your way. You are lucky, my friend. For 20, I rolled 3 6s and a 2 for 20 points of healing.
Tarask kind of stands up and is like, it's not exactly an I'm sorry, but I'll take it.
I'll turn and say neither of you are that deeply involved in this. I appreciate the help you tried to give me, Tarask, but I think we may have solved my problems already.
But
If
you
don't wish to in this fight, then I won't begrudge you backing away.
But you are a skeleton still.
Certainly, and I expect this magic to end sometime fairly soon. I expect the end of this fight to possibly be the end of my fight as well.
Okay. Tarask?
I feel much better now. When I never turn down a fight when I feel this good.
Okay, so I say we position ourselves where we can take advantage as soon as they animate. So as I have a reach weapon, I am going to move to 10 feet away from one of the skeletal warriors.
Okay.
Tarask is going to move to like the opposite side of the room, but with a line of sight, and he's going to take his bow and knock it and be ready.
I will draw my dagger and move the old man proper position.
He says, no, what are you doing?
I am reuniting you with your long lost love. Sir, you may not understand what that means now, but you will.
Is this some kind of... And yeah, you're able to shuffle him over to the center of the circle where he'll find something else to stare at on the floor that he finds interesting. Oh, I've not seen that rune in 300 years. Yeah, he'll just kind of pace there. And then as soon as you bring him into the center of the circle, the figure of the woman that was standing there will kind of shift over to the side and as though to let you in, even though she's ethereal. And she'll say, very good. And she'll say, who has the ritual book? Wasn't it Korak? You kept it?
Yeah.
Yeah. She'll lift that out of your things, and it will hover over to the desk and place itself where you see this nice little bone book right here. And she'll place it right there, and then she will disappear and then reappear in that chair. And she will begin to utter words from the book. And as she does, as she does, the torches in the center of the room begin to flicker and flake and whir with emanating magical pulses going throughout the room. And Sir Remschel, where are you at right now?
I am next to him, the old man, in the center. I am standing essentially right in front of him with the dagger in my hand. Right hand. Sword sheath.
He says, Sir Remschel, I say, where did you find that dagger? That's beautiful. And indeed, as you pull the dagger out and you unsheath it from its leather pouch, it is a beautiful, wavy, ceremonial dagger. Yeah, I don't remember what they were called in like Diablo, but they were those curved, wavy daggers. They were necromancer daggers.
Yes, K-R-I-S.
Yes, a Chris. Thank you very much. That's exactly what this is. You unsheath it, and it's beautiful, ornate markings on the side, inlaid. The hilt is inlaid with some crystals and various colors. And he says, that is absolutely beautiful. And as she begins to continue to say these words, indeed, the armor around the circle begins to, the two that are still standing, they begin to kind of rattle a little bit, and the one that is crashed on the floor, they begin to kind of hop up off the floor and everything, and then the all of a sudden it reassembles itself into a standing piece of armor, and the armors stop rattling all of a sudden, and a pillar, a hollow pillar of blue light, translucent light, beams up from around this star here. So where you see where the blue circle is there, well, a blue pillar of light shoots up from that. And as you, if you touch it from the inside, Sir Remschel, you appear to be hedged in. You can't really move out of this circle, at least not this moment. And it's that moment that we will all roll initiative as these pieces of armor begin to come to, and they will inevitably begin attacking you.
All right. So that's initiative 3d6.
11 for Remschel.
I got a 9.
13 for Korak.
All right, Remschel, you said 11?
Yep.
Tarask, you said 9?
9, yep.
Korak, you said 13?
Yes.
And okay, the armors move with surprising alacrity, and they will act first.
Wow.
Well, let me rethink that. You, Korak, were standing at the ready with your bow. You are not Korak, Tarask. Korak, you were standing ready with your spear. Everybody was pretty much standing ready. So you guys will have access to the ambush turn. So you get one action to go ahead and perform before the initiative kicks in.
Okay. So I am going to stab the one 10 feet away from me with
Okay.
my spear. Okay, so that's 5d6. Oh, yes. Okay. 12, 16, 19.
Okay, that is a hit.
Okay. So, and then I'm going to use a luck die on the damage.
Okay.
I'm going to try to put this thing down as quickly as possible. It did not explode. 10, 16, 20 points of damage.
Very nice. You connect with your spear, and you leave a large dent in this armor. And you definitely damaged it pretty well. You could tell that, though, that the armor itself, is very, so it must have absorbed a lot of that shock. But yes. Then Turask.
Okay, so they are those symbols. There's the three of them. They're like, I can't quite describe them, but there's three of them. So there's one to my right, and there's one all the way like on the opposite side of the room as me, right?
Yeah, you're down here.
Yeah. So there's that one to my right. That's 15 feet to the right. Yep. Okay, got it. All right. So that one that is farthest from me, I'm going to take aim at. I'm going to use my rapid shot. So I'll be firing 2 shots instead of 1.
Okay.
And I roll for that. Bow's going to be agility plus bows. So that's 4d6. Okay. All right. So that's it's 9
to hit.
Yeah.
That one just deflects off of his armor. Bing!
Okay. And the second shot comes in, and that's better. 9, 12, 14.
That one also bookings off his armor.
Okay. Well, that's me.
So we now begin in, Remshel, you do have an action to perform if you'd like.
I will stab the old man with a dagger.
She says to you telepathically, not yet. It's not time yet. The ritual isn't ready.
And I am stuck in the circle, right?
You are, but you get the sense that you might be able to attack from within the circle outside. So, like, while you yourself, your body, you cannot pass through, you feel that your attacks might be able to pass out. Like if you threw something outside of it or shot a spell out.
While we're on the subject, and I'm sorry to do this little aside, but was I supposed to have a superior bastard sword or something?
You do. I've already accounted for that in your attack roll.
It's just not labeled that way.
Correct. I didn't have time to get all the details.
Yes, air blast. I'm going to use air blast.
Okay. What's the range?
Range is 15 feet. All enemies within 15 feet of you. I'm sorry, the range is the cell. Target is 30-foot diameter. The description says all enemies within 15 feet.
Yes. It won't touch anybody that is you consider an ally. So it won't touch the old man. It'll only touch those. Yeah. So 30 feet. It'd be 15 feet out from you. So yeah, you would be able to actually hit all 3 of them. And what's it look like when he casts this air blast spell?
Air blast, you don't see a lot other than a puff of dust that seems to start around everything that's on the floor seems to blow outwards in a circle, a perfectly concentric circle, starting at my feet. You don't see much other than the dust moving and maybe some bits of, the robes flapping, things like that.
So
the damage on that spell is
1d6.
Boom, 2.
Okay, so it doesn't appear to damage them at all, but they do all get blown back 5 feet. And that is the ambush turn. Now we can start initiative order. None of them can move very fast. This one's going to... Well, actually, no, this one. He will begin to make his way there. He makes it, and he uses his second action to attack Tarask. Why am I not using this? It's way easier. Okay.
So, just as he approaches, I just because well, actually I don't know if this is the same in Wine as it is in D&D, but I would be able to change out my bow for my short sword.
Yes.
Quickly as he approaches.
Yeah, that was something you could have done on your turn as a free action.
Okay.
You get one, as long as you don't repeat the free action, you get one free action per turn. So yeah, that's no problem. Unfortunately, he rolled a 24 for his attack.
Okay. Well, that's gonna. I mean, that would hit just about anybody. So that's obviously a hit, but my melee with the sword is 14.
You mean your defense, your melee defense?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right, yeah, he is going to. They all appear to be using the same type sword that Sir Remshel has. A large bastard sword with engravings from their temple. And he bears this sword down upon you as he comes charging in. And he crashes into you for 13 points of damage. Don't forget to apply your soak. The one over on this side of the wall will charge over at Korak. And it will also bring its sword to bear. And it brings it up over its head to come down on you with a large overhead strike and rolls a 20 for his attack. Does that hit Korak? I think you're mute.
It will miss.
Okay, he crashes his sword into the floor as Korak dodges off to the side. This one will come over here, and he will get a +1 to his attack roll for because you're engaged with another guy over there. And he'll deduct 2 for damage. And he will get a 20 on his attack roll, which is a miss. So he comes in with a heavy-handed strike, and you're able to duck out of the way of that strike. Next up is Korak.
Okay. Since they decided to come and line up, I am going to use Reap the Whirlwind.
Ooh.
I get a basic attack against all or every adjacent foe.
Okay, you're looking for an 18 or higher.
Okay. Well, I got 3 6s.
Ooh, there you go.
And a 6 on top of that. So that's 24.
Okay, so your damage for this will explode.
Okay. And now with that, okay. What was I just thinking? Okay. Do I just do one roll for all of it since I'm attacking all of them?
We can make it interesting. Roll for each one.
Okay.
For not the attack roll, the damage roll.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're going to go against the one that I've already hit, which is against the left-hand wall there.
Yep.
And okay, so that is 6 there, and I did roll a 6, so that explodes.
Yes, it does.
And so that's 12 plus 5, 17 damage to him.
Yes, you crash into him and leave another massive dent into his armor. He tries to deflect the blow with his sword, but he utterly fails.
Okay.
You,
So then the next one.
yes, you dance and you do a twirl and you come back around and you bring your spear to bear on the other one.
Okay, so that is 9 plus another 6, so that's 15. So that 6 explodes, and then 20 on that one.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Yes, and you crash in. So, Remshel, you see this whirling dervish of orc, and it suddenly occurs to you that you've never seen an orc before in your long years. You were so excited to see somebody different for a change that you didn't realize that person you saw, one of them was an orc. So, and as you watch him, he just is making very quick work of these undead knights over there. Next is Sir Remshel.
I'm going to go with a lightning bolt, sorry, against the Northwestern. The one that has been most battered.
Yes.
Yep, that gentleman right there. So,
Yes, it's a 5d6, and you're looking for a 14 or higher.
22.
Very nice.
On this for a damage roll on magic.
For this particular spell, Remshel isn't very strong with magic. If he had one more point in evocation, he could have done 2d6 damage, but instead it's just 1d6. But these undead knights are vulnerable to electricity damage because of their armor. So you're going to roll 2d6 for damage.
Can I throw luck in, though? Is what I was asking. My luck?
This guy looks like, honestly, he's got 3 hit points left. It would be a waste. He looks like he's about to collapse on his own.
So don't roll snake eyes.
Go. 8.
Yes. So you see Sir Remshel reach his hand out, and a bolt of electricity cackles from it and smashes into that knight on the side there, and the electricity courses over the armor, and the thing just falls to the floor as though nothing were inside of it.
Nice.
That's your turn. Tarask.
So I have this guy right in front of me here. He's already engaged me. All I can really do is I have my short sword out. So I will basically just try to get in close with him. Turning around, giving him my back isn't an option. So I'll roll my... It should be the same. Okay, so that's 6, 5, 11, 14, plus 4 is 18.
Okay, he brings his arm up to parry your blow, and you see it in time, and you readjust the angle of your sword, and you connect. Roll your damage.
Seven.
Okay, you contact with him, and you feel like you could have hit harder, but you did a little bit of damage to him, so you're pleased with that. You have another action.
I will bring the sword back around again and try to take another swipe at him. Well, actually, let me ask you, what Tarask would really want to do here is use the distraction of biting in with the sword and try to get away from this engagement. So basically he wants to disengage. How does that work in this system?
So how it works is it's an exploit. So if the enemy has the exploit that would allow them to score a parting shot as you leave, then they would do that. You don't know if they have that exploit until you run away and they use it. But by default, nobody has it. It has to be a skill that somebody, or an exploit that they've taken. Okay. It's not part of the rules.
Okay, so I landed that first strike.
Yeah.
And I'd like to move around him.
Okay.
Essentially to the opposite corner is where I'm at. Not the one where Korak is, but to my right. And if he does not swing at me and hit me, then I'm going to pull my bow and take my rapid shot.
Now that movement would have been an action, so that's your 2 actions for the turn: the attack and the move.
Oh, are all movements actions, or is it just when you're disengaged, like when you're fleeing?
It's all movements are an action.
Oh, okay.
So you can move twice, attack and move, attack, so on and so forth.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, that's my turn then.
Okay. All right, next up would be the armors. The one next to Korak will bring his sword to bear. At the beginning of this turn, the spirit continues to utter its incantations, and the runes, the red runes in the center of the circle, begin to glow and light up. And the old man is like, "Oh, how very pretty. I wonder what's happening. This looks like magic." The yes, this armor will. Let's see. 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. His first attack at you, Korak, will miss. You parry it with no issue whatsoever. The second attack, however, is a critical hit, and it hits you. So he will. You parry his first attack. However, a second attack, he comes around and catches you by surprise with his bastard sword, and will deal. Oh, no explosions. You're lucky. 7, 11, 13 points of slashing damage, and you are bleeding.
Okay.
Which means, hold on, I just got to check it real quick. You will lose 1 health at the start of each turn.
Okay. Bleeding says the target suffers ongoing damage from a lingering wound. You take 1d6 damage at the start of your turn.
Oh, you're right. Okay. So yes, thank you. I am looking at the book. So yeah, you're looking at the revised. So thank you. Yes, you'll take more damage. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I should have kept my mouth shut. Well, it's just I'm going to use a new trip.
Ah, yes.
And I have a question about it when I do use it, but they're still attacking. So
yes, this knight down here at the bottom, Tarask, that you attacked, will basically you dinged it and you ran to the other side of the room. So now he's going to have to spend an action chasing you down, and then spend his other action attacking you. So he does not get 2 attacks on you this time, but he does get 1 attack on you. And it's a terrible one, but it still might hit you. Let's see, 6. He's got 1 6, so that's good. 6 and that's a lot of ones. That's 4 1s. He rolled a 13.
That is well. Okay, wait. I still have my short sword in my hand, right? Because I didn't get to take a shot with a bow.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so my short sword's in my hand, so my melee defense is 14 when I have my sword, so that's a miss.
All right. Yeah, he comes at you, and you're easily able to parry his attack. No problem. Korak, you're up.
okay, so I am 2 actions. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to try to do the trip. Now, it says they've changed it to when you use a called shot to knock a target prone, you do not have to pay the 2d6. Additionally, the target gains the downed condition, making it unable to stand until that condition has been shaken off. You still do your normal attack damage, and additionally, if you are a smaller size... Okay, I'm not smaller than this.
No, they're medium.
So I did 18 to trip.
That's a success, yes.
Okay.
So you hook him in the feet and you pull him down.
Right. So he gets the downed condition.
Yep.
Which is you are prone and cannot stand is the first part of.
Yeah.
So, okay. And so then I do damage as normal.
Yep.
And that's 19 points of damage.
So yeah, that's exactly what you needed to utterly destroy him.
Okay. And I will then do an endurance check to shake off my condition.
Which, by the way, did it say at the beginning of each turn, like of your turn? Because I rolled 5 for your bleeding damage.
Okay. Yes, it did say at the beginning of my
your turn. Yeah, I rolled 5 for that. So take your 5 damage and then try to shake it off.
Okay, I will do that. I did, since I just defeated that guy. I get my luck die back.
Yes.
And I'm. Yeah. Okay. So that is 12 to shake off the bleed condition?
It does not. You are unable to shake off that bleed.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, he hit you very hard on that one, and the difficulty for shaking it off is the attack roll that he made against you.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Then next up, we've got Remshel.
So they're both still left. Okay, you got one target left. Okay. I'm going to lightning blast again.
Okay, you target the one down near Korak. I mean, Tarask.
We're going to go with 18.
Yes, that's certainly a hit. Roll 2d6 for the damage.
I'm rolling all of my luck dice into this damage.
Ooh, all right. Make sure you keep track of which ones those are.
Yes, there will be the latter 3. Or is it 2 dice per?
No. Per luck die is 1 for 1. So for every luck die you add 1 to your damage.
Okay, so this 3. I did hit a 6 on one of them. I hit a 21, and the second of the luck die hit a 6. And that's a 3, so 24 total.
Dang. Yeah, great. So this large bolt of lightning comes crackling out, and it strikes this piece of armor, and it hits it in a way like it bounces off of its chest, and then it tries to like move its arms out of the way to just do something, but in doing so it bounces the lightning back off of its sword back into its face, and it just does that like 3 different times. It just keeps going back and forth, and it just completely rattles the thing. Sir Remshel might attribute that to his faith or what have you, but it seemed to be so utterly lucky that happened, and it's sitting there just all shaken and everything, and in fact it will lose one of its actions next turn because of that. And then we go back to the top of the round where the armor's turn. However, at the beginning of this round, she will turn to you, Sir Remshel, and she will say, the time has come. And she motions to you to do the deed with the dagger. And you won't be able to act until your next turn. Until then, it is the armor, and it's going to attack Tarask. But it only gets 1 attack action. So 14, 16. Yep, that's a hit. So he attacks you for 20. He hits. He's using it two-handed, so he'll get +2. So 14 points of damage. And then it is Korak's turn.
I'm going to attempt to shake this off first. And I think I'm going to use both my luck die.
Oh, wait. I got to roll your damage first.
Yep.
2.
Okay. I'm bloodied. Ooh.
I think that's the lowest I've ever gotten you.
Yeah.
Korak's a beast.
Okay. 8, 10, that's 15.
Still not enough. You're unable to stop the bleeding on that wound.
Okay. Okay. Now, I will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I can get close. I will move to. I can move 8, and I will move to a position where I can attack him. I can't charge because it's not a straight line.
You would need to go around the circle. Yep. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Yep. You made it. No problem. And that's your 2 actions. We're over to Remshel.
Remshel, in anticipation of his coming task, is going to use his daily worship exploit.
Okay, and what's that do again?
Once per day, you may pray to your deity and refresh your luck. dice. So all 3 I just spent, I now have back.
Okay. Yes, Sir Remshel lifts his hands to the sky and asks for blessings from the great blue dragon.
And that is, I believe, the entirety of my turn is.
Nope, that's just one action.
Well,
So Tarask is just going to shout, "Stab the old coot."
there you go. Then with every bit of malice in my body, I'm going to take that dagger and drive it straight under the old man's breastbone. And as I do so, I will say, I wish I could say it had been fun. But good luck in the hereafter. And just hammer that little thing right up under his breast.
Yeah, so you bring that ceremonial dagger to bear, and as soon as you...
Damage? Can I roll damage for it?
Yeah, go ahead, roll damage. The dagger itself only does, it's going to do 2d6.
I'm going to exhaust all of those lucky things.
Yes, it does 2d6. He is a normal human, so he probably has about 10 hit points, no soak.
15 points of damage.
And yeah, you run it through him with no, like running knife, a butter knife through butter, and you hear bones crack underneath you, and you finish him off with this ceremonial dagger, and he goes down. And as soon as his blood hits the center of the circle this entire time has been whirring faster and faster and faster, and the that armor, as soon as you do that and his blood hits the floor, the armor in front of Tarask collapses, and you see there's a moment where he looks up at you, Sir Remshel, and he grabs a hold of your shoulder and he says, "Do I still get the level?"
No, now you're the bitch.
Damn you! And he falls down dead onto the thing, and as soon as he breathes his last, the circle, everything in the room goes completely black and silent. The torches all go, they all go out, the spirit disappears, and you are all left in the room in complete and utter silence and blackness.
Still standing?
You are still standing there.
Yes.
And I want one last thought from Korak and Tarask and Sir Remshel before we call it a night.
Well, I'll say for my part that I am simply elated that I am still alive. Or undead alive. I'm still in existence on the conscious plane somehow. And that is much more than I expected.
Tarask is just, that was not a glorious battle for him. He was mostly scrapping it with this one set of armor back and forth in the room. So he's just kind of like exhausted and just kind of wipes his brow and looks up and says, "Ah, Rimshel, you're still here." Okay. Just kind of surprised that he has managed to out exist this curse.